We're gonna.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So I hope I can answer some of the questions that were coming up in the audience with this presentation. Pretty much we're going to lay out how it all went down based on the publicly available documents, either from the city council agendas and meetings of the last couple of years, or from newspaper articles. This is all public information. I just put it together for everyone. Oh, my name is Emily, and I live in Beaver Dam. I live less than half a mile away from the proposed data center, so that's why I got so deep into the research. So who's the players? Number one, we have Alliant Energy. Alliant Energy, our electric company, was the one who went to all the individual farmers and bought the land. And they bought the land with the intention of finding a, quote, electricity intensive user. So a data center is pretty much as electricity intensive as you can get. Degas LLC is the entity that they love to say entity because they're all under NDAs, named in all the documents as the data center developer. And it was leaked, we can see from the newspaper reports, that it was leaked it was going to be Meta. I have a source, an environmental lawyer we've been discussing with, and he informed me that they plan to make an official announcement developer on November 12th. So that's yet to be seen. And Degas is the company, this shell company for Meta, we can say, that then bought the land from Alliant. Trent Campbell, who I'm sure some of you know, he's the vice president of the Beaver Dam Area Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit whose sole purpose is to pretty much be the intermediary between corporations and the city. And he's the guy who signed a lot of NDAs, and he's the guy who went and explained what the development was to the city in closed session. So he has a lot of information that he, I guess legally can't tell us, but he's been instrumental, one of the most instrumental people to this development and the intentional secrecy around it. Then we have, of course, our city council, our plan commission, and our mayor, who all unanimously voted yes on every single step of the way. We have State Representative Mark Bourne, who specifically rewrote a bill and proposed an amendment to a bill that specifically put Beaver Dam and this data center development into a, let's just say it waived a lot of taxpayer protections, and I'll go into that later. But he put that in, and Tony Evers signed that into law in July of this year. So this is what went down, again, based on all the public documents. 2018, 2019, Alliant Energy comes knocking on the doors of our local farmers and our individual landowners, giving offers and getting options, as Neely explained, our fellow Prentonite. And it says in the documents that the end user was not disclosed to these individual landowners. Then there was a period of waiting, and I guess this is the point at which Alliant Energy and Trent Campbell were trying to find a single developer for this huge plot of land. So a couple years go by. It isn't until 2023 that Trent Campbell's name pops up in an NDA with another shell company, Balloonist LLC. These are some details, but Balloonist has previously been involved with a data center development in Menominee. So this is where I personally think the talks about data centers coming to Beaver Dam really start getting going, because the NDAs are signed December 3rd, 2023, December 2023. August 2024, the Plan Commission approves the annexation of this entire plot of land from Trenton Township to the city of Beaver Dam. and rezones it from residential or agricultural land to light industrial. And here there were public hearings, but they were not well advertised, though they did do the legal minimum. But there was no mention of a data center and no to the public hearings because it was unassuming. September 2024, Common Council finalizes those annexations and rezoning. And again, no mention of a data center. October 2024 is where it really gets sped up. So October 2024, there's a public hearing about the TID district that Prescott gave a presentation about. Again, there was no description of a data center, no mention of a data center. Apparently there was a public hearing. Again, nobody attended because nobody thought it was something to be worried about. November 2024, that's when the TID is approved. And ATC, who is the company who's building the high transmission power lines from Beaver Dam to Randolph, that includes the transmission to this data center. That's when they filed for an application to do those transmission lines. And that November 2024 is also when the line officially sells to take us. 2024 that Meta owns the land. And still, at this point, there's no mention of a data center in any documents that are publicly available to us. And it isn't until January or February of 2025, whoops, that date is wrong. But that's when the first, 2025 is when, after all of the approvals, that's when we first hear that it's a data center. Unfortunately for us, we didn't know it was a data center like in the Caledonia situation, where we could come up and give a presentation about how this doesn't make any sense. This was all done before all the approvals were done before we even knew it was a data center. So that's what this slide is talking about. No public hearings discussing a data center, period. This part, I also wanted to point out because this happened quite recently. In the summer of 2025, State Representative Mark Bourne and Robert Brooks, who's not from Beaver Dam, but Mark Bourne is, pretty much entirely rewrote a bill that transformed this, he proposed an amendment to a bill that pretty much completely transformed it into a very complex data center specific policy that specifically in the bill mentions Beaver Dam TID number 10, which is the data center. And this becomes what Governor Evers signs in July, and that's Wisconsin Act 16 if you want to look into it. But this pretty much, to give some background on this, the Wisconsin state law says that TIDs, or this TAC in this increment districts, can only be up to 12% of the total property value for the city. This is supposed to protect us, the taxpayers, by limiting how much of the taxpayer money is diverted away from schools and other things that tax money goes to. And given that this is such a huge development, probably close to $1 billion, and my research brought up 834 acres of land. Creating this TID would push Beaver Dam over that 12% limit by a long shot. And if that happened by state law, they couldn't do it. But this specific act that is now law, that was written in part by Mark Bourne, passed by pretty much bipartisan support, says that 12% rule doesn't count for data center projects, and it specifically doesn't count for Beaver Dam or Port Washington, which are the two big ones coming to the state. So now, pretty much that just means that more of our taxpayer money is subsidizing Meta instead of going to schools or streets. And yeah, this specific law, I find it quite interesting because it only benefits these two developments, Port Washington and Beaver Dam.
Can I say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
This 12% rule exists so that cities don't do stupid things. Literally, that's why it exists. It exists so you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You don't invest your money in one place. You don't have that kind of concentration risk. It was a well-designed law to prevent villages and cities from doing stupid things. And they created 2 exceptions so that you could do stupid things. And that's what's happened.
Yeah, so let's just all recognize that our state legislature changed these rules specifically to help this big tech company and completely bypass these protections for us, the taxpayers. Yeah, so that's my presentation on the timeline. I hope that answered some basic questions about how it all went down, but I'm happy to answer any other questions because I couldn't put in all the details. Yeah.
When you were talking about the power and the water, I read something that said that President Bush said that these tech companies have to supply their own power.
Can everybody hear the question?
But it's not happening. And the other thing is, are they allowed, and how are they allowed to use our water? I mean, that's very scary. The
Yeah, so
electricity and the water.
I can't speak to the Bush comment, but that's something we can definitely look into. We'll write it down to do some more research into that. But the water is coming from the Beaver Dam City utilities. And the wastewater going from the data center is going to that one little wastewater treatment plant in Beaver Dam.
I'm on one of those data centers, half mile from it, and we saw a drone going over my land with lights on at night, down where the water is when it collects on the other end. I'm on a high point in Dodge County, on Stone Road. But anyway, I have a heated hose that goes down to water my sheep. And anyway, I thought maybe I'll leave it on, that they had these water signs by the creek down below. And anyway, water for over 5 months, all the time, 24 hours. So that means there's what do you call that? Down by the stream. And they had a drone that was checking my land at night.
Is it by the data center?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Went down that road.
I don't know the specifics, but
Well, we're gonna add that into our list of things to look into. Did you
Yeah,
also
like that.
say there was some construction going on?
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what they did to your land?
They sprayed all the banks on my land all the way down SS and F. By Crystal Lake Road, Brains Nursery and all that. They sprayed all those banks with Agent Orange products.
What the hell?
Do you know what month this was?
Oh, must have been about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Because that's when the water started reeking on my property, like burning your eyeballs.
Oh, wow.
At what point do we private class action lawsuit? Right.
Yeah, it was called Gardon. I went down to address this guy who was parked in Brains Place. And I'm only about 20 feet where I live from that 45, whatever it is. And they could have come over and knocked on the door, but they didn't. And I called the Sullivan, what do you call it, National Weather Service, when they had sprayed it the day before. And he said that at that time, the winds were 15 miles an hour from the southeast. And so that's the way my driveway is. So it traveled all the way down my driveway. And I have a lot of hosta, 75 different kinds of hosta. So some of them I don't, and then this other guy that was in Vietnam and served there and was a parachuter, he said that guy that sprayed it from this ATC or whatever it is, he said it will last another year after. And from Vietnam, said that lasts in the ground 7 years or more. So there you are.
You know what's quite concerning, I mean, other than just the story you told, the permits for the ATC transmission lines were only approved by the PSC 2 days ago.
Oh, you're kidding.
So
Has to be illegal.
I'm not sure how it's possible
Stuff
to
going
do
on
that,
here.
yeah. Yeah,
So, like I said, I've been filming this and putting it on TikTok, and I have over 1 million views. I'm almost at 1.7 million views on my videos documenting this since May, and I have tens of thousands of comments. So I don't always see them immediately, but one of the construction workers on the site has been commenting on my videos, and he said that they dynamite twice a day. And they are, they used to hit water at 8 feet, now it's 18 to 20 feet before they're hitting water. So I'm just, that is very concerning to me, because if you look at, a surface area map of the landscape types, right, like where all the wetlands are, it's like a horseshoe around the metadata center site. Like, how is there water absolutely everywhere and just not there? And the fact that it's, the creek that runs through my property, it's 20 feet wide, is that water comes rushing through there, and for it to go on and off like a switch right now is really scary. It's still off. So yesterday when I came home from work, it was off. It's still off tonight. It's not running. So where is that water, and how come it can just all of a sudden turn back on and come rushing, and that ends up in Beaver Dam Lake? So I'm also, my follow-up point on that is, have we started connecting this group to the Lake District group? Because that's another really passionate group of people who are concerned about the water quality, the water quantity, and they've been doing this for quite some time now, and perhaps all together we can scratch each other's back.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion,
That's a
and
great
if
suggestion.
anybody has other suggestions, I think any brainstorming ideas would be appreciated. I also read that comment, I think you posted in the Facebook group, and the person said that when you start blasting like that, you alter the water table and it will never go back to the way it was. So, yeah, I empathize with you.
Well, I'm Dr. Luica. Quarter. If it is true that there's defoliant sprayed here, then it is the responsibility of the national government. My main aim is, if we can stop the progression of this building of this data center, and I think at this point, probably we have to engage the national government.
What we need is a lawyer.
Yeah, we need a lawyer.
What we need is a lawyer to tell us what is possible.
Yes, and another thing is the Horicon Marsh.
Yeah.
All right, that's a national treasure. And this is a major flyway.
Yes, it just proves to us that the people who are supposedly representing us did not care, period. And they didn't care that you care, so.
They didn't care enough to even look into it. Or they're too greedy to even care.
It's hard to
You know,
fathom.
It's too obvious.
It's hard to fathom.
No
I
due
think
diligence.
It's really obvious that this is having an environmental impact. How many of you in here knew that there was gonna be blasting as part of this project?
Hell no.
How many of you knew that the blasting affects the groundwater?
No.
They didn't
Okay,
even
so if
respect.
we're part of the national flyway here, the Horicon Marsh flyway, what's gonna happen to these little ponds that are all around here if the groundwater used to be at 8 and now it's at 18 feet, you gotta go down to get it?
I'll also say
That water
that
table is vital to that, to
The-
our whole community.
Yeah.
the environmental lawyer that he's not working on the case, but has been conversing with some of us. He said that there has been no environmental impact study, period. The site, this is not something I put in the presentation, maybe I should have. In 2018, when all those offers were given to the landowners, the state certified the site as state certified, which just makes it, which they advertise as this means it's developer ready. But that doesn't negate the fact that they still need to do an environmental impact study, which they haven't done to this day.
And that's a requirement, by the way.
So legally, where is it?
So I can answer that because I've been talking to them almost every week since May. Every time it runs dry, I'm supposed to call and whatever. It's been completely gutted. There's one human in charge of all the rock. There is one member of DNR on the permit committee. He has to investigate every single rock quarry and mine in the entire state of Wisconsin, which is why we're the Badger States of how many mines we have. So every conversation was him driving in a car on his way to another place. And that rock quarry that is in between my house and the data center, they're required to let my family know when they're gonna dynamite because of how, I've not heard about any of the dynamiting going on at the Meta Data Center. And they're 0.6 miles further than the quarry, but they're not telling anybody that they're dynamiting. And this is my question, and maybe this is, we have to have a lawyer answer it, like, it seems like a lot of protocol was not followed. And I don't know where we start with that.
So, my background is in crop consulting, and I've worked with some of these farms that were taken over. And in the past, well, first I should say, everyone can see all the great big gravel pit. The reason that there's so much gravel is because we're part of the Niagara Escarpment, goes from the New York up to the Door County, and you see the big hills, they're limestone bedrock. I used to have to write nutrient management plans on these farms, and once in a while, if it get real dry, you could look into a field, and if there was a field of alfalfa, you could see a line going through the field, and the alfalfa grew more than the rest of the field did. The reason was because there's fractures in the bedrock, and the roots could go down into the closer to the groundwater. In order to even put a culvert into a field, we had to get a permit to do that. When we wrote out nutrient management plans, we couldn't spread manure next to waterways, next to streams. Because I do live so close, I live about a mile from the data center, proposed data center. There were a few times that one of the farmers spread manure onto a field that was across the road from me, and for a short time, when I took the water from my tap, I could smell manure. This was years ago, before they put more restrictions on it. Now it seems that's all tossed away, that they can do whatever they want.
I want to just speak to the DNR point. Sarah, you want to say something about that?
Well, all I was gonna do was say the air permits have not been approved along with that there's been no environmental impact statement done.
Yeah, so they have submitted there's an application for an exemption with the DNR that has not been responded to by the DNR, probably because they're so low staffed. So the DNR is kind of MIA at this point, but that is definitely, I don't think the timeline of things matches up with what's is normal protocol, pretty much. So that's something that we need to follow through on, because that might be one of our leverage points.
So something I wanted to do actually is I think it would be a really good idea, because a lot of you have been following along on the Facebook group. And I think it's really important just to be able to put some faces to names. I think that we should do like a little admin meet and greet here, because I want you to see who we all are, who have been doing all the, because I really want you to know how much we care. Like we really, really care.
Unfortunately, Joe, our big kahuna had to run out, for a birth. So she was the lovely lady who was sitting up here. She's the one who got this all started. She started the Facebook group, she started the YouTube channel. So she's responsible for why we're all here today. Prescott, he gave that wonderful presentation. He's been donating a lot. I don't know how much you want me to say, but let's just say he's heavily invested in what's happening here, and he doesn't live anywhere near here. Brett has stepped on board. Steve, many of you know. Dear Emily, she's the one who gathered all of the information for the timeline that she gave. She has lots of golden nuggets under her sleeve.
I don't think you read to the lawyer.
Yeah.
My name is Sarah. I don't live here, but I'm here as a professional organizer to just kind of help guide the ship, just to make sure that we're getting things off to a smooth and robust start, because this is a really big deal. Important to me that you all get the justice and accountability that you deserve. And we have dear Wayne here, who has also been very heavily invested in what's been happening. So one of our goals that we wanted to have tonight with this event is we want to make sure that everybody leaves here feeling more determined to want to stay involved and to stay engaged moving forward. We want to keep these community meetings consistent to every 2 weeks. We're in the process of looking for a different venue that can hold more people because we would like each meeting to grow. One thing that we are kindly requesting, many of you saw the donation basket out in front whenever you came in. If you have even $1 to throw in there, the admin team, with the exception of me because I'm a broke single mom, but everybody here has donated money for the location. It was $300 to have this space. Ooh. Yeah. And all the printing for all the flyers and everything else. And, we are charging for the signs just because we can't, unfortunately, give everything away. But if you could really please, help to donate to the cause, that would be very appreciated. And we were also hoping to maybe establish some working groups moving forward. So we know a lot of you here have a lot of talents in different areas, whether you have backgrounds in construction, whether you have backgrounds in, medicine, health, even legal expertise. We need all hands on deck here, okay? This is an all hands on deck operation. We are just kind of getting things started. But now we need everybody to band together and to help this thing move forward. So if anybody is willing to be a part of we can think of this together in our group discussion. That's what part of this is to maybe establish some committees moving forward to where some people can put their talents together. This is one of the nice things about groups is everybody comes with their unique skills and gifts and talents to contribute. And so we want to celebrate those, and we encourage everybody who has something to offer and who wants to get involved and contribute to please do so. Please reach out to any of us, let us know, or raise your hand what you're willing to do, what you would like to do. We can try and maybe see if we can band you guys together even tonight. You guys can gravitate towards each other. So that's a goal that we were hoping. And then also holding your city accountable is like the number one goal. We don't know if we're going to be able to stop this, honestly. If we could, great. But if we can at least slow it down and really be a thorn in the side of the people who allowed this to happen, okay? So, last I heard, is it true that all of your city officials are running uncontested in the upcoming elections here?
Not
Yes,
for long.
no? If anybody would like to help put them out of a job,
Stand up, Kate.
please
Where's the mic at?
consider running.
I also just want to say that I know this is going to be quite an uphill battle for all of us. But I think one of the things that this developer and the city are expecting is for us to lose our lose the heat under us and kind of just give up. So I think one of the main things that we cannot do is exactly that. So yeah, I recognize that this is probably going to be a pretty tough and long fight, especially given how far they are with all the proposals and all the approvals. But yeah, I think if anyone can contribute, just the 6 or 7 admins is kind of hard to run a whole campaign against a $1 trillion corporation.
We're with
So
you.
But we
have
got
a-
gumption.
We have a microphone out there somewhere.
Oh,
Somebody
yeah.
had a question or a comment?
Yeah, y'all can pass it around.
Hi.
Wait, I think someone else has the microphone. Hello?
I came here today, I don't live in Beaver Dam, but I do live in Dodge County. And when I saw this, and when it told me about it, I joined the group and everything, and I know everybody wants information, and sometimes the information you receive isn't all the best of news. Like putting up, a righteous fight is always good, when, but, it comes down to basically, this money was given, to, how do I say this? This project's been in the work for a long time, and a data center is obviously just that. It collects data, and if you know about anything that's going on across the pond in Europe and over there, with data centers and everything, flock cameras, this and that, what the push is. Again, I was talking with Steve, we were born for such a time as this. And even though we may not be able to stop this, we can still, be strong, because like the good Lord said, right, that, I foretold you all things, for when it comes to pass, you might believe. And we know that our, in my opinion, I don't know how anybody else thinks, but, the bird, if you will, it's got 2 feathers, or 2 wings, the left and the right are part of the same bird. Any way you look at it, it's gonna come down to this. That, our administration, had given this data project, money, to go forth with all these data centers. And, our president had said that, he's gonna, said in January that he was gonna expedite executive orders, and emergency executive orders to make this happen. If you remember, I don't know how many, if you watched the, news
Yeah, I recognize.
or anything, that, it was gonna be fast-tracked, when, the 500 billion was given to Larry Ellison and a couple other, CEOs, SoftBank. We know that Oracle, Larry Ellison is merged with Meta, and, they're putting up these data centers everywhere. And actually, there's an executive order, an emergency executive order, that our president said that he would fast-track to get these data centers up. And that's why they could bypass permitting, that's why there's non-disclosure orders and everything, because if you look up July 23rd of this year, an emergency executive order was placed, and that's why our DNR and everything can, if you look it up, you can read it, and it states that they can fast track this, and they don't have to go through the same hoops that anybody else does. And that's why, they don't have the permitting for certain things. If I can read just, some of the executive order, if you like, unless.
Well, we know that I think the major point is that we're being bulldozed.
Yeah.
To implement these data centers, and what's the long-term goal of them? I think it's way more than housing data for Facebook or whatever, that's the real point. So there was an executive order apparently. passed in July. We're gonna do some more research on that to see how that affects, if that affected, but a lot of these permits would have been pulled before that executive order. The construction's been going on, for quite some time
Can
now,
I,
so.
can I
but-
offer something? There are two things you can do. Two concrete goals that you should have. The first one is short-term, and that's protect everybody that lives in the vicinity of the construction site. You need to get your noise level high to fight City Hall, to make sure that those people are accommodated, because they're about to go through years of miserable construction. That's job one. That's what everybody should be doing to help out the neighbors that live close to that site. The second thing you should do is insist on staying close to all future decisions related to this data center. There are going to be hundreds of things that happen, and you do not want your city council to be making those decisions for you. You want to be there every step of the way, and you need to insist that there's a community group attached to that process. To me, those are the two things that you can do that are concrete, deliverable, measurable, that you can all rally around. If you just have vague goals, you'll all disappear after a short period of time, because you won't know that you're being successful. If you focus on something concrete like that, you have a goal, you know what it looks like, and you know that you're making progress against it, and you know how to go get what you're asking for. I highly recommend you talk amongst yourselves and decide what those goals are, whether they're the ones I mentioned or they're anything else. But you have to have concrete goals. It's how we managed to successfully kick Microsoft out, knowing exactly what we were after and pushing everything else aside. And it worked. And it'll work here. It just unfortunately probably won't work to stop the project, but it will at least get you the best out of the project that you can hope for given the situation that you're in.
What does that look like though? Because those of us who live next to it we didn't get annexed in, so we're part of different townships.
Doesn't matter.
And
Like, get this whole group rallied around it, figure out what you need to do.
but what does that look like? How are you guys gonna protect me?
Well, that's what you need to talk about. You need to figure out how to make happen that short-term protection.
You
There
guys
are-
need to be the
There are
first looking.
people in the area that are being negatively impacted and are going to be for the next several years
Yeah.
based on the construction schedule.
Well, I think just having you here is a testament to that. Because Prescott is, his expertise and just the civics lesson that we're getting here is that we need to be involved. Like, we have to show up at the
At the
city
council
council meetings.
And you have an
And
election
we have to
coming
be
up.
involved, and we have to be watching.
From now
Throw
on,
them out.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
the other
but-
day can't be the first and only meeting you go to. That has to be the first.
we started this group as an educational group. Like, we wanted some answers to our questions. We didn't start with the idea to stop the data center. We started with, well, what the heck is going on here? And once you start digging, once you start looking at this, just the worse it gets. And so there amongst us we have people in our community whose land is being ruined. They're digging up the crabapple trees out of your yard, and it's gone. Like the water that's been running the creek through your property is just gone. Like, okay, well, that wasn't part of the deal, was it?
Look at Brunette.
Did the city council think of that? Was that part of the deal that they approved, I mean, I don't think so, but here we are. And so now we're at a point where, okay, there's some serious issues with this. And I'm sure they're watching this and hearing what we're gonna do. Okay? So, but here we are. I mean, there's some things going on that are a real concern to us in the community. And we're being negatively impacted. Our properties are being negatively impacted by this project. I'm just gonna put this last little note. I live really close to there. And I'm always watching the deer and the ducks and the turkeys. and whatever out there on those roads and in those fields. And with all that construction going on, I can tell you WDS's lawn has been inundated with geese. There are so many geese in their lawn because they can't land out in those fields where they used to. But that's been thousands of generations of geese landing in those fields out there that are never gonna land there again. Now, are they gonna do some wetland restoration to make it, sound good? Okay, but that's gone forever. There was so much dust coming out of that construction site into the property surrounding, like it was like the Dust Bowl today, watching that all happen, going into the properties over there. So, there's lots of things going on here that people are rightfully indignant about. And I think it's our, this is our community. And so let's just get involved. And if you're willing to be a part of this group, wherever this goes. But I think we need to hold our city government as accountable as we can, because this is our property, this is our community.
I'm sorry, Steve is right, but I just have to interject really quick and say Prescott has to leave, so if we could please show some appreciation.
Thank you.
I just want to build a little bit off of what was being said. Earlier, you had mentioned teaming up with some sort of water or I'm not familiar. I think that one thing that could be really beneficial to this group is pairing up with groups that already have experience with collective order, such as the Republican Party of Dodge County, the Democratic Party of Dodge County. They have resources on a state level, access to things like lawyers that they could get us in contact with. And if we team up with both, this could be bipartisan action. I understand that our state assembly screwed us over. I understand that what Trump is doing is screwing us over. This is a perfect storm, but this is not the first time in history of the United States that perfect storms haven't happened to groups of people. And if we sit here and get and focus on the details, we're just gonna get angrier and angrier. And that's, at a certain point, we're just gonna freeze. We need to think about in what ways can we bolster ourselves up with the organizations that already exist to help support what we're doing. And I understand that right now politics on either side are so inflamed, and it's hard to want to team up with either party. But the infrastructure is there that we can lean on in this situation. And, I know it's said over and over again, but blow up their phones, blow up their emails, make it so they cannot not listen to us, and then also show up to those meetings. It's so important.
I've got all of them here. I made 50 copies of your representatives, so your state representatives, your federal representatives. The only thing you need to know is if you're in District 5 or 6 in Beaver Dam. Beaver Dam is split in half, but I've got a map here and you can check. I have the website, you can see exactly who your entire representative list is.
To add on to that, I called the city clerk today, Tracy Farron, and a couple of very important pieces of information were given. Do not email as a group for any of the city council. You have to email them individually, because if there are 3 or more that you put on an email, then by law it's called a walking quorum. And by law they will not respond. So do your emails individually. Also, it was stated that on the January 17th City Council meeting that the economic development is on the agenda, and Trent Campbell will be there and he will be speaking. On the January 17th City Council meeting, it is on the agenda for the economic development. Trent Campbell will be there speaking. Now, the next thing that I questioned today was in regards to us getting on the agenda. And what was told to me by the city clerk was that the only way you can get on an agenda with the city council meetings is to be sponsored by a city council member, and then the mayor has to join in with it. Well, we've not had any city council member who has said nay to any of this. So I think that's almost impossible for us to ever get on the agenda. So, but very, very important to not do your emails to individuals. If you have to copy and paste for 20 of them, but do it individually. Don't group any of them together.
Thank you.
My last note, please document everything. Write it down, date it, and sign it. If we're going to be speaking to a lawyer, we need everyone's experiences documented. Take as many pictures as possible if you live near the sites.
So I actually had a phone call with Trent Campbell. I was told by the mayor to contact him because I contacted the mayor about it. She told me she didn't know much about it. So great help. So
That just galls me personally. I don't know about the rest of you, but the fact that our elected official, the mayor, doesn't know about what's going on in this city and how this adversely affects the residents that she is in charge of taking care of. That should be enough for us to all be knocking at her door daily, calling her daily, emailing her daily, asking, why did you not know? How did you not know?
So I had the phone call, and throughout the whole thing, it seemed very shady. Everything just felt off. But as in calling him, you hear stories about how people walk into their houses and their taps won't go or their lights won't turn on. Trent Campbell thinks all those people are crazy. So if you believe that, Trent Campbell thinks you're crazy. So that'd be something to bring up to him if you get the chance to speak with him. And then on the other side of it, he also believes that this company, Meta, is very trustworthy and that they're not gonna lie at all. Because billionaires never lie. And then he said that the town right now has enough infrastructure to comply with the electrical needs and the water needs, which I think is just a big fat lie.
That's why they've been replacing all of the electrical lines.
Exactly.
Because we don't have the infrastructure.
Exactly. So either he is just, gullible, or he is just blatantly lying. And I think it's more or less the blatantly lying, because there was a lot of stuff he would work around. I'd ask him a question, he'd work around it. And I actually recorded it, so if anyone would want access to the recording, go ahead and let me know. So.
At the end of the day, this is going to go to litigation, right? So we have to be so careful that we do it the right way. So like, if you're gonna record other conversations, we have permission, and we have to be so careful when we go to these city council meetings. If we want to not be also perceived as crazy, we're gonna have to talk in a we're gonna have to mind decorum. Because if you want to be listened to, we can't be screaming, we can't be yelling, we have to, right, and we are very passionate, or we would much rather be doing something else, of course. But I've been to a lot of political training, and one really good way that you can support people who are up there speaking is come with an agree and a disagree sign. That shows, like, rather than, jumping in, screaming and clapping or booing, you're not gonna get thrown out for giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down when people are speaking. But it immediately shows, like, collective agreement, collective disagreement. There's a lot of things you can do to show power as a group, and help support one another in that way. But like Jackson said, you have got to document, and you have to start calling these people and being very careful, because you have to assume that every contact we make now is going to be used in court, right?
Yeah, I can actually add on to that. Wisconsin, we have the opportunity to people.
We're what's called a single party consent state, so any recording, as long as you have consent to it being recorded, they don't have to know, unless it's used in a court of law. So we can actually bring up the recordings in City Hall, or in any city litigation area besides a court of law, which works completely to our benefit, because then you have witnesses. and then witnesses can bring up in the court of law. So it's works completely to our benefit. So you just don't have to give permission, or you don't have to get permission. You can let them know, and I would let them know if you plan to use it in the court of law. For that, I just plan to use it for basic information, so you don't have to get permission from them at all.
Okay, I just wanna go, so, you know, attending that city council meeting, I felt like we got your attention, but I also feel like we need to have like some serious action items out of this group. And, you know, I never heard anybody talk about like recalling our elected officials, but, you know, some of our elected officials, like this Mark Board and these city councils, you know, can we start something there, or have we thought about something there to start showing them, hey, we're serious about this, and we voted you in, and now we're removing you from your positions. So just a thought. I don't know if anybody looked into that, but I just feel like we need to be quick and strong and get their attention fast.
Yeah, and that's why I said earlier that if anybody is willing to consider running, because we need to fill those spots when we put them out of a job. Yes, ma'am.
One thing I noticed is that these people are basically all on Facebook, or with people who, you know, we need to get people who are not on Facebook to join in on this.
Yep.
I've talked to a couple of people today that are on Facebook, and they were very surprised about the whole situation.
Yep.
So somehow we've got to get other people, you know, to get going. And going back to what the lady just said, you know, I think we can recall all of our city council and Mark Bourne for lack of transparency.
You're not the mayor.
Yeah, recall is a good idea.
We live in the town of Trenton. We're probably about 4 miles from the site. First, I just wanted to say that I'm very interested in the health impact. So I'd be interested in joining with, is there anybody else that would want to? Okay.
Love that, yeah. Yeah, if you're interested in focusing on health impacts, please raise your hand.
Okay.
Hey, take a look around the room. Those are your new friends.
Okay, well, maybe we could meet in the corner and start a list or something.
That's why we're here, yes, so please.
So my other question is, we own rental property in the city of Beaver Dam. And I hear you talking that the taxes, we expect the property taxes to go up again. But what about the town of Trenton? We lost a lot of tax revenue with these farms being annexed. Should we expect our property taxes on our home to go up as well?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's that question, but.
So basically, you're hoping to compartmentalize this movement and have people that have different yet agreeing things. So we have this group over here that is focusing on the environmental issues. We have this group over here that's focusing on the land usage, property taxes, all that kind of stuff. And then another group over here that's focused on the environment. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes, working groups or committees,
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So, as Prescott was saying earlier too, yes, all of you who live the closest to the construction site, it would be really great if you could all form your own group. So you guys can communicate with each other about, hey, what's going on with you? Hey, what's going on with you? Oh, my property's doing this, or oh, I had this. And then you guys can start comparing notes as to what's going on your properties. And that would be a good way, because a lot of people feel alone in these kind of issues, and we want you to not feel alone, because you're not. Okay, if you look around the room, you can see you're not alone. So we want you to really feel that sense of community, and like you have people that are standing with you, and you guys can all stand together. So that would be another group. If y'all, want to raise your hands, try and find each other.
I also want to say that it's kind of an urgent issue, because some of the legal challenges only have 30 days from when the permit goes in or is approved. So there's some urgency to mobilize your neighbors, people who aren't on Facebook. I was not on Facebook until literally I heard from someone else that there was a Facebook group, and that's why I didn't know how to organize any of my other neighbors. So if you can reach out to as many people as possible, people who aren't on Facebook especially, let them know what's going on and let them know the information, like our next meetings or the next city council meetings. That would be really helpful. And yeah, I just really want to reiterate that this is a time-sensitive thing.
So that might be, there's several districts in the city of Beaver Dam. We all have our own alderperson, they sit on the city council. If you live in a specific district, if we have flyers made up for every single district that explains exactly what is going in, that explains that this is extremely time sensitive, let them know that they have been lied to, et cetera, and then make sure that the name and all the contact information for their alderperson is on the flyer, as well as the mayor and all of her contact information, as well as all of our representatives and all of their contact information, and make sure that you leave instructions. Please do not CC anybody that was a wonderful tip to single copy only on all of your emails, and to let them know that they need to be inundated. A lot of people want to get involved, but they don't know how, and they're not on Facebook, and they don't even know who their alderperson is. They don't know any of the city council members. They probably voted down party lines. They have no idea how to get in touch with them. So that would be a really cool thing, is we can get stuff printed up at the library. They might even print it off for us for free. And then have people walk their neighborhoods, because the districts are broken down and they're fairly small, and put one in every single mailbox. So that way.
No mailbox. No mailboxes.
Don't touch your mailbox.
That's a felony.
Yeah, that's a federal offense.
Okay.
Yep, so,
We have a
yeah,
question.
I do wanna just add to what you're saying, so yes, each of you in your own alder district should also be in a group together, to be working together to recall or unseat your alder. That would be another idea that we can have moving forward. Oh, Brett wanted to say something.
We had a question. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, so on Sunday and Monday, I put out between 250 and 300 flyers, just like you were mentioning. And I was breaking it down. I was using the ward map to target first, Ward 6. We need somebody to become an alderperson that's going to fight for the people. So that's where I targeted first. And the second one was along Lakeshore in Jack Yudd's district.
That's
because,
my district.
Yeah.
I will run against him.
Good. Thank you.
Easy peasy.
Thank you very much.
My
And
name's Kate Miller.
all right, Kate Miller.
Vote for Kate Miller.
2026.
Yep.
And so part of that is I was just going door to door and leaving it in like their doorknob because it was a very informational flyer. And it's so much of an information overload for all of us right now to speak intelligently on this. So part of what we need as a canvassing effort is for those who are interested to come together, put together a speech that we can all kind of stick to at the door and come up with some common responses so that we can give both a united and coherent response to people's concerns. And also because it, gives us confidence, because it takes a lot. I'm a shy person. I don't like going to doors. But I have a very strong moral compass. So if they want to start it, we can finish it.
Okay, so
The next city council meeting, for the next city council meeting, can we, you only get 2 minutes to speak during the open thing. A lot of people were not getting their points across. We
Yeah.
don't want to repeat points. So can we also get a committee together that we have 20 different talking points and hand them out to 20 people to get their names on the list at least, so that we are boom, 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 and we're taking aside the emotional level
yeah,
that's at
Gabriel.
the first meeting. I mean, I understand that, but we have got to get the facts, and we've got to get every angle presented, because even these city council meetings are on YouTube. So again, that's another avenue for the public to be able to see what is going on and for them to see what our aspects are to it.
Yep, you're exactly right. And we were talking about that in the admin team about having talking points ready. So yeah, if you are somebody who would like to speak, but you're not comfortable doing that, or you're not really sure how, we are happy. Remember, we're here for you, so we're happy to help with that.
Okay, we're getting close to 8:30.
Yeah,
We
we're
were
gonna
gonna
have to
try
wrap it
to
up.
shut down at 8:30. We'll take a few more questions. And then if people wanna stick around or you wanna get involved, if you wanna be a part of the group,
Sure.
good,
Yeah, that's
you
a
know,
really good idea.
we, again, our ground rules that we didn't wanna make this political, we weren't like, we didn't care if you were a Democrat or Republican or independent, we just really didn't care. We just, it's not about that, we didn't wanna make it about that, we wanted to make it about what's right for our community. So at the end of the day, those are some of the ground rules, but we're coming from all backgrounds here, working together. And in some ways, that's been really great to see people from every background and walk of life coming together in this community over something that's for our community. And, you know, whether we recall city council people, just remember, they all voted for it. It was unanimous. It was everybody. So it wasn't just one person's fault. As a group, they used their position to decide for us without being transparent, which is, I think what most of us would agree, that this was done in a non-transparent way.
Yes.
Right, right, yes. Oh, I know.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So